I know you've been spending a lot of time in the building with your coaching staff, and just wondered what's that been like watching film from last year, planning for this season, seeing guys come in on a voluntary basis. How has these last couple of months kind of coalesced for you as you enter the season?
Yeah, there's a lot to it. There's sort of a lot of different compartments to your question. I would say with the coaching staff, the focus primarily has been building out our systems, building out our language, and then as we've done our smaller group workouts and our individual player development, incorporating that language and those systems into those smaller workouts. I would say what we have tried to create is an energy and a vibe in the gym every day. It's like a perfect balance of, I would call it focused joy, if that makes sense. We're grateful every day to be in this gym, the staff, the players, but it's focused and it's intentional and it's organized.
Hey guys, a couple. Rob or JJ, can you kind of just walk us through health and availability of guys like Jared Vanderbilt? Rui had an Olympic injury. We know about Christian's surgery. What's going to be what's sort of the status of the roster heading into training camp in terms of availability?
Yeah, I think you brought up a number of players. Gabe Vincent and Rui are both clear for camp, so no issues there. In terms of Vando, this offseason he did have 2 procedures, one on each of his feet. The procedures were highly successful, and he's on a return-to-play program that so far has been lockstep and very promising, led by our new director of performance, Dr. Leroy Sims, and his team. They've been doing a great job, and we have a lot of optimism that when the real games start, he'll be available. Now, between now and then, there's still about a month, and there's a lot of ramp-up steps that need to go well, and so hopefully there won't be setbacks. But so far, very promising. And we're grateful that he has the issues in his feet behind him, and it's just now a matter of getting fully ramped up and ready to be cleared. Christian Wood, on the same knee, had surgery on last season. He did have a separate cleanup surgery that went well, performed by Dr. Chris Jones at UCLA Health, and he'll be reevaluated in 6 weeks and is progressing well.
Jalen?
Jalen's cleared.
Okay.
The first father-son duo, specifically, he doesn't want Bronny calling him dad, stuff like that on the court. I'm curious from a coach's perspective, ahead of this historical moment, what do you see as some of the greatest challenges of having both a father and a son on the same team, especially when your father is LeBron James?
A challenge for me or a challenge for Bronny? Or a challenge for LeBron? I'm sorry, I want to...
Challenge for you in navigating all of that.
I don't look at it as a challenge that's unique from any other challenge of coaching a player or coaching a relationship. Bronny, I feel very fortunate that I get to coach him because he's young and he's hungry and he's got a lot of inherent skill sets that we can really mold into a really good NBA player. On top of that, he's a fantastic kid. He's extremely coachable. He's got the right spirit and energy every single day. So yeah, I hate saying this because it's you asking the question, but it's not something I've really thought of as a challenge, if that makes sense.
The challenge.
That's a callback, by the way, just so you guys know. That's a callback.
Maybe the challenge is on Bronny when, like in our pickup game, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, he got switched on to LeBron, and LeBron took him baseline and up and under off the glass, and the words exchanged afterwards were probably more challenging than anything else.
Rob, Dan kind of touched on it with the roster and the continuity. A big storyline has been the 2 tradable first-round picks that you guys have. So just to be clear, are you open to potentially trading or using those picks to upgrade the roster? And if so, would that only be for like a bigger kind of reshaping the roster type trade, or would something more marginal, a more marginal type of improvement be, suffice as well?
Yeah, I think the philosophy that JJ and I are aligned on is we want to build sustainable Lakers excellence. And I think when you talk about moves, you can make a move that backfires. I think every GM has made a trade that they say, maybe that one wasn't ideal. But every lens that we look through has to lead to sustainable Laker excellence. So the direct answer to your question is yes, we would do a trade with both picks if that would lead to sustainable Lakers excellence. We would also use one pick to make a marginal upgrade if we felt like it was the right thing to do. We looked long and hard and did a lot of work at seeing if there were ways to increase the overall roster talent this offseason. And the right move didn't present itself. It's not an excuse to say that we have a different system that is more of a limiting system for trades and moves. And so there's just less of a supply for opportunities, but we will continue to study and scour the marketplace. And if the right move presents itself that leads to long-term Lakers excellence and improving our team this season, we'll pull the trigger.
Rob, JJ, appreciate the time. Got one for both of you guys. First, Rob, you guys came to agreement with Max Christie on a long-term deal pretty early in the free agency process. What did you see over his first couple of seasons that made you guys comfortable giving him that contract? And what was the expectations for him this season after being in and out of the rotation this first couple of years?
A lot of it had to do with JJ's vision for how this team's going to play. Some of the things he's talked about, which are supported by sort of our data science team and the coaches upstairs have been vigorously going through, is making adjustments to things like corner crashing and trying to win the extra possession game. I think Max Christie is sort of the prototype player of a 3-and-D wing that can defend, pick up with pressure full court, which is another thing JJ's talked about in his system. He can make corner threes, I think, at a high clip. And he's very long and athletic. And so I think he will be a guy that's going to help us win the extra possession game by crashing. So just the way he played, the way he's built, really aligned with JJ's philosophy. And then just his character. He's in the gym every day. He is probably one of the hardest workers on our team. And so those are things we're going to lean into when we choose people that are going to be part of our program.
I would add to that, I think to win now in today's NBA, you need 7 or 8 players that really impact winning, and that doesn't mean 7 or 8 superstars that need the ball in their hands. Max Christie is going to be a guy in his career who has a high level of impact winning for a lot of those reasons that Rob talked about, and he's been fully bought in to all of the player development stuff. Jalen Hood-Schifino has been fully bought in. Like, these guys have gotten better significantly over the last 2 months. So we're really excited to see them compete in training camp and in the preseason.
JJ, I asked a variation of this question last year. Do you, as a franchise, have a traditional center on the roster? And if not, why is that not necessary, or is it necessary?
When you say traditional center, what does that mean?
A size center. Brook Lopez.
Is Brook Lopez a traditional center, though? In the traditional sense, not many centers were shooting 35-footers.
Sure.
Yeah.
More of the size.
More of the size. I think we have not only one of the best players in the world, but one of the most unique players in the world in Anthony Davis, because there's very few people that can do the things that he can do at his size, just in terms of his ball handling, his skill level offensively, and certainly the fact that he's one of the best defensive players in the world. I would also say I don't know, like I don't view Nikola Jokic as like a traditional center. I don't know how many traditionals. I think back to the basket, like that's just not the modern NBA. I think we have like a gift that we have Anthony Davis. It's not a deterrent that we don't have a 7'2", 300-pound player. I'm not sure that it's how we want to play anyways. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's where you have a package for the different lineups that goes back to organization. We're not going to ask Jackson Hayes or Christian Wood when he's healthy or to play the same way that Anthony Davis does. So we'll manage.
Haven't really talked about D'Lo at all today. Led the team in three-point attempts. I know that's a thing that you'd like to see that team's number rise. How does he fit into kind of your vision for the style of basketball this team is going to play this season?
Yeah, I mean, I say throughout the summer, he was probably the guy that I talked to the most of anyone on the roster. We had a number of conversations during free agency and you know, throughout July and August, and like he's going to have a major role on this team. I think the thing that D'Lo and I have talked about a lot is just like, let's put you in a position to have a career year. His mindset, his energy, the talk that he's brought, the leadership that he's brought when he's been in the building has been excellent. So I'm thrilled to be coaching D'Lo this season. He's in a great place right now, heading into training camp.
Coach Reddick, during the Olympic, Rui Hachimura's role was leading the Japanese national team. What did you think of his performance as a leader? And Mr. Pelinka, will there be any differences in Hachimura's role on the team this season? If so, what the differences be?
Well, I can answer the second question too, because that's not a Rob question. No, I thought Rui was fantastic, particularly in the lead-up games, the exhibition games going to the Olympics, and then also had a couple of really good games in the Olympics. In terms of his role, I think that's something that we will define with him, and we will also be open-minded to that evolving. Rob brought up the corner crashing, because when he's not posting up or not playing out of closeouts, or not screening, Rui is an excellent shooter. We want him shooting corner threes, so he's already going to be in the spot to corner crash. So we're going to try to ramp up his offensive rebounding. We're going to ask a lot of him defensively, particularly with bigger wings. And I think if you look at some of the advanced stuff from last season, when he gets the ball in the post against a mismatch, that's a good option for us. When he's attacking a closeout, that's a good option. When he's playing out of screening action as a roller and getting into the pocket, it's great for us. So he'll have a big role, and we're going to ask him to do a lot.
I got to ask, from an Austin Reeves perspective, we've obviously seen the scoring increase season by season, had the ball in his hands a little bit more, especially down the stretch last year. He wants to grow as a defender. Where do the expectations lie with a guy like Austin?
Yeah, I think, there's continuity was a big word for us with this roster, and, there hasn't been a ton of roster turnover this offseason, so we're going to lean into it and look for incremental internal growth. And Austin's at the epicenter of that. He's just so talented. I think there's still going to be a big delta and jump in how he plays, and as you said, being more on ball. And then I think taking the challenge defensively. I think we've had conversations this offseason. He was really, really good at sort of using his chest and taking charges early in his career and stopping people that way. So I think he's up for the challenge to be a two-way player and to be a lead at both ends.
Here is a look at the Lakers' projected depth chart. Of course, you see LeBron, AD, Rui, D'Lo, and Austin Reeves. JJ said, well, that starting group was 23 and 10. Let's see the rest of the guys. A lot of familiar faces on the roster.